Welcome to A Drink of Wisdom with Nathan Drinkard. I'm Jay Wise. Thanks for spending some of your time with us. As you well know, the show's hosted on the Anchor app, but we're on all the big podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the rest. And if you're interested in the video format of the show, we're live on the A Drink of Wisdom YouTube channel. Check us out on all of those. Like, listen, share, subscribe. We'd appreciate it all. Busy day today, Drink. What's going on?
Hey man, busy day nonetheless, man. Everything good. Glad to be back up in this thing with you, my partner in crime, my brother from another mother. You know what it is. We say what they don't and see what they want. And y'all know what time it is. Let's talk some sports, baby. Let's roll, baby.
And away we go. Episode 38. The Patriots are getting busy. The Jazz defeat the Celtics. And we take a look at Monday's entertaining battle between the Knicks and Nets. We're going to start tonight in college basketball on the return of March Madness. As you may know, the last year's tournament was derailed by the COVID, but we are happy the 2021 installment gets underway tomorrow night with the first four, including a blue blood battle between UCLA and Michigan State. Gonzaga, Baylor, Michigan, and Illinois, they're your number one seeds. You got Houston, Alabama, Ohio State, and Iowa on the two line. The entirety of the tournament is going to take place in Indiana, with much of it taking place in Indianapolis. And the NCAA has elected to allow a limited number of fans. Obviously, they'll be doing the social distancing and the masks and all the rest of that. Lots to get to here. We got the favorites, possible upsets to those fans that are allowed to show up. It's all yours, Drink. What are you going to be watching as this tournament kicks into high gear?
Well, it's a multitude of things to watch with this March Madness, as you put it so eloquently. But I think, first of all, the very first thing I want to watch tomorrow night is that Michigan State and UCLA. Those are two what we would call blue bloods in basketball, as you said, and they're playing in the first four, not the final four, but the first four. So I think that's quite interesting. That caught my attention as soon as I seen the bracket get released, because you usually don't have teams of those caliber in the first four. So I think that's a good way to kick off the tournament. And then we get into the tournament. Listen, as I look at, I'll put it like this. So they posed this question to me, and this is the way I looked at it, and it made sense. It was like, okay, if you looked at, because the history of this tournament, usually the top four seeds from each region usually find their way through. Every now and then we get a 15-2 upset. Don't really get the 16-1 all that much, but you might get a 15-2, a 14-3 upset. So I say all that to say, when I look at the one seeds, first and foremost, I do think Gonzaga is they're gonna run through majority of the West bracket. As I look at, the problem with Gonzaga and the problem with the rest of these teams. If you don't have a team where you have at least, let's say, five junior to senior mix on your team, you got a bunch of one and dones, you're out of here. We seen Duke, we seen Kentucky, that one and done stuff ain't happening no more. It seems to me, as I look at these, with COVID, and then I look at this bracket, you got to have some leadership. You got to have some of those senior guys, and Gonzaga got them. That's why I think they're in a very poised place to win the West. I go to the East. If I go to the East, well, we sticking it to the first round. I'm sorry. So, I'm gonna take my boys over there in the East, right? I don't even care that Michigan number one. You know what I'm saying? They, as far as I'm concerned, they get the win of St. Mary's versus Texas Southern, and then they can lose for all I care, because I'm gonna take my boys in the first round over there in the East anyway. And then like you said, Baylor, and then you got Illinois. But I do want to say something, and I guess this is what I was trying to catch up to. Now it finally came through. Did you see how many teams the Big Ten got in?
I didn't see the exact number, but I want to say they led the entire tournament in teams that got selected.
Right. They had
was it 11?
teams.
It was 9.
Nine. They had 9. I think the next conference close to them had 7. And the reason that's significant is because for every team that you get into the tournament, there's more money. So most of these leagues got 12 to 14 teams. So if you get 9 of those teams in, you know what I'm saying, that's a big payday for the conference. So I wanted to throw that out there as well. But it's as far as the matchups go. I mean, those teams that I named, those was a few of the first round matchups. I usually don't really start looking until we see what they look like. Now, I think people got to understand this year with March Madness is different. Yeah, you still got your 4 regions, but every game is getting played in Indianapolis. So we got to remember this is going to be more. It's going to be March Madness, but it's going to be more of a post NBA. So you know how they had the bubble down in Orlando. This is pretty much going to be the bubble in Indianapolis. So, you take that for what you take it as. And the reason I bring that up is because you said something about the limited fans, which the limited fans will matter, but if everybody's playing on the same floor, it's usually like a AAU tournament type of look to it, a conference tournament type of look to it. It's not like the normal March Madness, so I do want to, throw that out there. If people didn't know it, the whole tournament is happening in, the city of Indianapolis, just in, I want to say either 3 different gyms or 4 different gyms, one of the 2. So that's also something to look at. That's why all 4 of the first 4 games are getting played on Thursday, because usually you have like 2 games on Tuesday, 2 games on Wednesday, and then it rolls into it. But that's why they all getting played on Thursday, because of that fact. So with that said, I just want to see them play. And then I think once we revisit this Saturday or next week, I think I have a little more feel of what I'm leaning towards as far as the tournament go. I'm just happy it's here. I'm happy we could be part of it. We missed it last year. Let's play some ball, baby. March Madness.
No doubt about that. Could not agree with you more on that. This is a welcome sight. It was a huge blow to the sporting community when the conference tournaments went down in such a way as they did last season. And then we got the news that the NCAA tournament would not be happening. That was, college basketball, and as you can tell by the way we conduct our show, it doesn't always make it into the main list, the main schedule and the main agenda of what we get down with. But March Madness is unlike any other. Like you look at things that are synonymous with a certain sport. I don't know if the relationship between this tournament and the brackets that we're looking at right now, those things are so closely connected. Even people that know nothing about basketball, they get in on the tournament for nothing else, just to fill one out or just bet or something of that nature. Like, and some people, some people they just, everybody's filling out a bracket. Let me get one of them suckers and pencil some stuff in. Who's playing?
Listen.
We got. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but to your point, you think about this. Like, as big as the Super Bowl is, March Madness is the only time where you get like billionaires like Warren Buffett. There was another guy that's like, I pay $1 million to whoever got the perfect bracket. Yeah. Like, most people don't even know who Warren Buffett is, but yet and still, when March Madness come around, he does stuff like that to try to hype in morale in his company or whatever he's trying to do. So you make a good point with that. March Madness is a big deal.
Yeah, but to the actual some of the participants, and we're focusing primarily on the first round, but since it's the beginning, we can look a little bit down the road. Okay. Gonzaga is going to be tough for anybody, not only in that West region. They got I think three of their players made either first, second, or third All-Americans.
Right.
And even though we know they play in the West Coast Conference or whatever, and we can look at that as somewhat of a joke. They do got BYU's in that conference. BYU is in this tournament. They're a 6th seed. They got 2 wins against BYU, and they schedule in non-conference. They beat Kansas. They beat West Virginia. They beat Iowa. They beat Virginia. And they also had a game against Baylor that they were supposed to play, and that got canceled. But one stat to really pay attention to, and some of it, of course, is the benefit of the WCC. Only one at 25. They played 26 games this year. 25 of them they've won by double digits. Only West Virginia played them to within single digits. They won that game by 5. So now you can look at that as 2 ways. Number one, they're just a dominant team. But number 2, the thing about this tournament is it only takes one. It only takes one time for you to not be on your game and get caught. And that sometimes that happens to Gonzaga because I believe the nature of the competition they play in a tournament like this only takes one bad half and you could be out of here. And they've had that happen to them, as time has gone on under Mark Few. But I mean, they're on it. They're even in comparison to some of the teams they've had in the past. This one might be just too much to ask for some of these teams until you get on down the line into the Elite Eight, and so on and so forth. Virginia's on this side, and I'm not. And Virginia, as I just said, Virginia lost by 23 to Gonzaga back in December. So, even for the likes of Tony Bennett coach team, might be too much to have. You do have Iowa in this bracket. You have Kansas.
I was just about to say, in that break, the only thing I can say is I think Iowa had the best overall player in Luka Garza, I think his name is.
Yeah, Luka Garza.
But I think
that's a great point, Luka Garza. But I mean, I'm looking just at face value off the west side of the bracket, and I think the best chance somebody may have is maybe in that second round game, Oklahoma, Missouri can catch them. But after that, whether it's Virginia, whether it's Creighton, Southern Cal, on down the line, I'm not. This might be a fairly easy time for Gonzaga. On around the rest of it, Michigan. One thing to keep in mind about Michigan, they're going to be missing probably Isaiah Livers for the duration of this tournament. So they could get caught because of that. They lost in the Big Ten semifinals to Ohio State without Isaiah Livers. So he's a big part of what they do. Alabama, it could be open for them. We will see. They got a lot to like down there with Herb Jones and Nate Oates and all the rest of them.
I know what it is.
Texas in that bracket. Texas has been a little inconsistent. I've watched a little bit of Texas this year. Seemed like some of these seedings. You can tell the Big Ten and Big 12 got a lot of respect by the committee this year. I think those are the best two conferences. But you think of a team like the ACC and the Big 12 both got 7 teams in this tournament, but the seeding is way different. Virginia and Florida State are 4 seeds. That's the best the ACC could do. The next best ACC team, I believe, is Clemson on the 7 line. And even beyond that, think of a team like North Carolina. They're on the 8 line. So the ACC was down overall this year. We know that Duke's not in the tournament. Baylor's been pretty dominant this year. They did. I think they let one get away in the Big 12 tournament. But I do think North Carolina is better than their seeding, and if they can beat Wisconsin in their first round game, they'll get a shot at Baylor. And that, again, same thing. Maybe Oklahoma, Missouri against Gonzaga. North Carolina is better than their record says. So I think North Carolina is going to give Baylor a good fight. You do have Ohio State in that bracket, Texas Tech with the way they defend. You have Purdue, maybe those limited number of fans, maybe that benefits Purdue in Indiana. We don't know how that's going to turn out. Illinois is probably the one on the one line that wasn't a guarantee. As talented as they are, they've been just a little bit up and down. As up and down as a 23-16 can be. In that bracket, you've got the likes of West Virginia and Houston, Tennessee, Oklahoma State with Cade Cunningham. They could be interesting. But overall, the one line, I think the Gonzaga, Baylor, and Michigan were well-deserved number ones. Illinois was probably the next best decision on the one line. But, as far as any upsets I see, it's one thing about this tournament. Anybody that knows the tournament inside and out and can just digest what it takes to digest from 68 different teams, shout out to you, because it's a tough job. Because we sitting here and, for example, we got a good old Drake down here in the first 4 on the 11 line. There's some people that's filling out this bracket and they thinking of Drake with all the albums and everything. Drake is a school. Drake's out there with his Raptor gear on and everything. Mm-hmm.
No, they're like, since when did Drake buy a school? I thought LeBron was the only one did that. Drake did it too?
Yeah, first 4 LeBrons versus Drakes. I think, the strange thing about this tournament is so many blue bloods. Duke and Kentucky are the biggest ones that they couldn't even get in the tournament this year. Right. But Michigan State was down. Kansas had a lot of struggles early on. North Carolina's on the 8 line. It was an odd year in college basketball.
Do you know Michigan State is the only team in this tournament? This is a wall right here. So they're a first 4 team, but they're the only team in this tournament that have beat 3 of the 4 number 1 seeds in this tournament.
That's a stat.
That's crazy.
That's a stat. You said they beat 3 of the 4 number 1 seeds?
Yeah, I don't think they played Gonzaga. Where Gonzaga's undefeated, so clearly.
Yeah, I have Gonzaga's schedule up, so it couldn't have been them. So yeah, I do remember them beating Michigan. That's
Michigan, Baylor, and Illinois.
That's a great stat. So, well, with that, Michigan State must be they're worth watching. We'll see if they can get through UCLA in the first 4 and carry on to BYU. We will have and don't worry about it. We will have much more on the tournament as it progresses, and we will revisit this on Saturday.
Oh yeah. Yep.